Hello guys, and welcome back to the Volks Wizard channel. In the last video I collected my Mk7 Golf GTI Clubsport S from Hippo Prestige in Lancashire, but unfortunately I didn't have enough time to film any driving footage. Well, we're going to put that right today. Later in the year we'll be going to the car's spiritual home, the Nürburgring Nordschleife, but today we're staying in the UK and driving on roads so good that they actually hosted the car's original press launch back in August 2016. We've got 100 boring miles to cover though before we get there, but that will serve as a good test of the car's long distance refinement. Plus it will bed in the brand new Goodyear Eagle F1 Supersport tyres I had fitted just 2 days after collecting the car, which I'll talk about more later on. Right now though, the mountains are calling, so let's hit the road in the Mk7 Golf GTI Clubsport S. Well guys, we're about halfway to our destination and I thought it'd be a good time to talk about this car's long distance cruising refinement, or a lack of it. We don't have a parcel shelf, we don't have a boot carpet, we don't have back seats, and we've got reduced soundproofing as well, so it is quite noisy in here, much noisier than a normal Golf, but it's just about acceptable. It's not completely deafening, although actually the road surface does affect how loud it is. In fact, it reminds me of my Porsche Boxster GTS, which being a convertible and a sports car is quite noisy, and you just tend to tune it out. I've done many thousands of miles in that car and noise has never really been an issue. We don't have cruise control, which is probably more of an issue for me because I love just resting my right foot. So on long distances that can get a bit wearing. Maybe you can retrofit just normal cruise. I'd be quite happy with normal cruise. I don't really want adaptive cruise. But anyway, for all its lack of creature comforts, it should pay us back with how it performs on a good road. So let's get to our destination and let's see what it can do. Well guys, welcome to the glorious Crickhowell in the Brecon Beacons, home to many a press launch in the past, including the Up GTI back in 2018 and more recently the Golf R 20 years. But the reason we're here today is because back in August 2016, Volkswagen UK hosted the UK press launch of the Golf GTI Clubsport S here. It wasn't a big lavish affair because all the cars were already sold. They brought just one car here, and that was the German demonstrator in the weird grey colour, which isn't a Clubsport S colour. It's a car that Rory Reid drove around the Nürburgring with Sabine Schmitz. But even though it wasn't a big event, there was some pretty good content produced. Most memorably, there was an article by Matt Robinson from Throttle where he wasn't too sure about the Clubsport S to begin with, but by the end of the day he'd completely fallen in love. Well, I'm also hoping to fall in love today, but before that hopefully happens, I just want to talk about the tyres because they're a key part of this car. Originally they came on semi-slick Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2s. They're a bit marginal in the cold and wet, so a lot of owners swap them out for Michelin Pilot Sport 4Ss, which are a good all-rounder. But from my personal experience, I prefer the Goodyear Eagle F1 Supersport because it offers a slightly sportier ride. So the steering feel is nicer and the car handles that a little bit sharper, primarily because its unique selling point is how stiff its sidewall is, which isn't really much of an issue on this car because we've got dynamic chassis control to soften the ride if we need to. But actually, having done quite a few miles on the 4Ss, it doesn't feel noticeably harder, the Supersport. So they've done just over 100 miles now. They should be nicely running. Let's get out onto the mountain roads and see if this incredible car lives up to all its promise. Start off by talking about how civilized this car is, because it came as a real surprise to me. If you think about Nürburgring lap record cars, you think about the Honda Civic Type R, you think about the Megane RS Trophy, and they are rock hard and they're quite loud and uncompromising. This is nothing of the sort. It helps that we've got dynamic chassis control, which softens the ride off. In comfort mode, it's not super plush, but it's definitely very acceptable. We've got a light clutch, we've got relatively light steering in the less racy modes. Okay, yeah, there's a bit more road noise because we haven't got any back seats or parcel shelves to keep that confined to the back, but you can still quite easily make a phone call, as I did earlier today. In fact, I bought an Edition 30 from the Bluetooth on this car. I'll tell you a lot about that in the videos coming up, but yeah, it's quite an interesting car, maybe not in a good way. Some people have done 40,000 miles in these, probably more. It's only the one I know about that's done 40, and I can understand why. It's too easy. So how does it become a Nürburgring lap record car? Well, firstly, you don't select race, you select individual, and then you make sure all the settings in there are reset, and that puts everything in race: the steering, the drive, the front differential lock, the VAQ diff, and unfortunately the engine sound. They all go into race, but the dampers stay in comfort. So you've got the most aggressive throttle response, and it is fierce, a right clutch buster, but you've got really comfortable dampers. I haven't checked to see if the hidden ring mode, comfort mode dampers are actually in the same setting as they are in comfort mode. It might be slightly firmer or slightly softer. I'll try and find that out with diagnostics at some point, but all I can tell you is on a road like this one leading up from Crickhowell to the mountain car park, there's probably no better car for the job. And of course we've got more exhaust flatulence. When this car came out in 2016, it was the first Golf that made pops and bangs. Even the Clubsport Edition 40, apart from maybe the DSG car doing its DSG fart, was silent. This car is almost embarrassingly flatulent. And once you warm it up, it will start up with a pop as well, which can get a bit embarrassing whichever mode you are in. But it's just cool that apart from setting this car up to do the ring record, the engineers made it fun. They even reversed the start-stop logic, so when you turn the car on, the start-stop system is off. And that's a really nice touch that hints at the effort that went into this car. Right, well, that's how civilized it is. Let's find out how exciting it is to drive. My ears are popped. We've gone over a cattle grid. There are sheep potentially anywhere. So let's just get a feel for this car. I've not driven one of these for a long time. I've not driven one in anger very much at all. And we're on new tyres as well, so let's just see how it feels. The conditions are good though. It's only 8 degrees, but it is bone dry. There is some sunshine. And the power, well, 310 horsepower, 380 newton meters of torque. You don't need any more, trust me. And the steering in this mode, normally race mode feels just a little bit too heavy, but it just feels really natural and feelsome. And blimey, that is a view. Brakes, well, they're not massive, they're two-piece, which means they'll do 2 laps of the ring before they melt, which isn't bad. On the road, they're perfectly fine, but if you're going to do proper track driving, you need to upgrade them because the Nürburgring isn't really that heavy on brakes. So VAQ diff helps put the power down, although it'll still spin both front wheels. It's such an angry car, this. It might have the same engine and performance, horsepower and torque as a Golf R, but it's lighter even without the back seats being removed because we've got no four-wheel drive system. And whether it's a mapping or it's just that makes this car feel so angry, it's hard to say, but all I can say is that you don't really want to go much faster on roads like these. That's one of the corners I nearly crashed an GTI on at the press launch. Thankfully this car was a lot more confident and inspiring through there. So you can see why they do press launches here. It's so scenic, and the roads, even in a short distance, this crest is interesting. Even in a short distance you get a feel for a car very, very quickly. Second gear for this one, and then we get on the power early, the VAQ diff, a little bit of slip, but we're off. Pops and bangs are plenty from the back. And down to second for this one. And then again on the gas early, and it explodes out the corner. Over that crest again, the traction control coming in. I'm keeping the traction control on because I'm still learning this car. And then up the mountain we've got bags and bags of torque. And on these more flowing sections it feels mighty. Down into third for this one, the shift is just sublime. And then you can see far ahead onto the gas. Oh my god, it feels like it wants to wheelie. And back to reality. So I've still got a lot to learn with this car, but even on those few miles I've just done, I can feel the magic. It's all about the hairs on the back of your neck, and mine are somewhat erect right now. That's just incredible. When I get to learn this car and can totally feel keyed in to the road with it, it's going to be an even more mind-bending experience than that. But I think as first dates go, that's a good one. That's a really, really good one. Well guys, it's been a really enjoyable first drive in my Mk7 Golf GTI Clubsport S. It's a lovely day here for February, but it's still quite cold. There's quite a lot of salt on the roads, but even so it's managed to put most of the power down most of the time. I think in the summer it'll be even more exhilarating on these kinds of roads. So yeah, just please subscribe if you haven't already, because there'll be a lot more content on this car right through the year. Hopefully some really, really exciting drives. I mentioned earlier I bought a Mark 5 Golf GTI Edition 30, and yeah, I literally agreed to buy that this morning, so keep a lookout for that. It's a very interesting car because it's actually quite grotty in many ways, but hopefully that'll make it more interesting to you guys. It's probably one of the cheapest Edition 30s that's been sold recently. It's a black 3-door manual, which fits in with the theme we're having with the Mark II and the Mk7. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. Also, a little announcement is that I am buying cars again. I haven't done that for the best part of a year, but I've got a dealer that I'm supplying, and at the moment we're only looking for Clubsport Edition 40 and Clubsport S. So if you've got a good original low miler, you might be surprised actually how much these cars are worth today and how much we can pay you. So if you want to get in touch via email, my email address is andrew@volkswizard.co.uk. As ever guys, keep subscribing, keep commenting, and I'll see you for the next one very soon.